Paul could tell you his 401k balance to the dollar. 30 years of contributions, every raise, every match, he knew the number cold. What he couldn't tell me was how, in about 2 years, he and Janet were going to turn that number into a paycheck. And that, not the saving, is the part that keeps many people up at night. I'm Jose Martin, founder of Lifecraft Wealth Management, and this is Real Talk. Paul's 63, a project manager at an engineering firm out of Davie. Janet's 61, and she's taught middle school in Broward for almost 30 years. They've raised 2 kids, the house is nearly paid off, and between them, they've built around $2 million of savings. Most of it's in Paul's 401k, about $1.15 million. Janet has around $300,000 in her 403b, and they've got $300,000 in a brokerage account, $150,000 in a Roth, and $150,000 in cash. And because Janet's a Florida teacher, she has something Paul doesn't, an FRS pension. On paper, they've done everything right, but when they sat down across from me, Janet said something I hear most often in that chair. $2 million sounds like a lot until you realize it has to last 30 years. Is it actually enough? And how do we even start paying ourselves? Here's the shift nobody prepares you for. For 30 years, your job was to save. Automatic, every paycheck, don't touch it. Retirement asks you to do the exact opposite, to spend the money you spent your whole life being terrified to touch. And most people have no system for it, so they do one of 2 things. A few overspend early and scare themselves, but far more, and this is the quiet tragedy, underspend out of fear. They sit on the money, watch the balance, and shortchange the very retirement they earned. So the reframe I gave Paul and Janet was this. You don't need a number, you need a paycheck in retirement. A reliable amount that lands in your account every month from sources you can count on, so retirement feels less like watching a balance drain and more like getting paid. And when we actually built theirs, the surprise wasn't how much they'd need from that $2 million, it was how little. Because here's what happens without a plan. First, the timing. The years right around your retirement date are the most fragile in your whole financial life. They even have a name, the retirement red zone. If the market drops the year you stop working and you're selling investments to live on, you lock in losses you may never get back. Second, the taxes. Pull from the wrong account in the wrong order, and you can hand the IRS over thousands you never owed. And third, the trap many people fall into. With no system, they freeze. No paycheck, no permission, just a big number and a knot in their stomach. The risk for Paul and Janet was never really running out of money. It was retiring with $2 million and still feeling broke. So we built the paycheck using our framework, Wealth Map. Start with their means. We layered their reliable income first, Janet's FRS pension, and we elected the option that pays 100% to Paul if she passes first, so it protects them both. Then, Social Security, staggered. Paul's at 67, Janet's when she reaches 67. Stack those together, and here's the number that changed the whole conversation. About 3/4 of their retirement paycheck is income they can count on for life, before the portfolio does a single thing. That $2 million, it only has to cover the last quarter. Now, the runway. We don't flip a switch on retirement day. We use the 2 years. At 24 months out, we stress test the number, pick the date, and pull Janet's official pension estimate. We even ran the numbers on Drop, the program that lets her keep teaching while her pension banks a lump sum. But at today's 1.3% interest rate, it wasn't worth the 3 more years in the classroom, and she was ready. At 12 months, we locked the Social Security plan and build a cash buffer. So a bad market near the date can't force them to sell. That's the protection piece, the all-weather build. At 6 months out, we set the withdrawal order, automate the monthly transfer, and sort healthcare. Paul straight into Medicare at 65, Janet bridged until she gets there. And on day 1, the paycheck just shows up. Let's look at 30 years. The gold is their reliable income. Janet's pension first, then each Social Security check layering in. The blue is what the portfolio adds on top, and the red line is their spending. Watch what happens. Early on, before Social Security turns on, the portfolio does do some heavy lifting. That's the bridge, and it's exactly what that buffer is there for. But once both checks are flowing, the portfolio barely has to work. And the balance? Even after funding all of it, the $2 million doesn't shrink. In our conservative base case, it holds its value and then some. Now, let me be honest about 2 things. 1, that FRS pension only gets a partial cost of living adjustment. So over time, it actually loses a little ground to inflation, which is exactly why we keep the portfolio invested for growth. It's carrying the inflation fight. And two, run this into a rough first few years in the market, and the picture still holds. They never ran out of money, because when 3/4 of your paycheck is income you can count on, a bad market is a disappointment, not a disaster. A few weeks later, Janet emailed me. She said the number that used to scare her, the 2 million, wasn't the thing she thought about anymore. She put it better than I could. Quote, "We don't have a number anymore, we have a retirement paycheck." And that's the whole job right there. So here's who this is for. If you're in your early 60s, have 500,000 or 5 million or anything in between saved, and you're a year or two from walking away, you know exactly how to read your account balance, but have no idea how to turn it into income, understand this. The most valuable work happens before you retire, not after. That runway is where the paycheck gets built. And if that's for you, let's talk. The first conversation is complimentary, and there's no pitch, just a clear look at what your retirement paycheck could be. Call us at 954-384-5292 or send us an email. I'm Jose Martin with Lifecraft Wealth Management. Remember, the goal isn't to avoid every storm, it's to be built for them. I'll see you soon.